When describing the signs of his return, Jesus said, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." In 1 Corinthians 15, the Apostle Paul defines the gospel as the atoning death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus the Messiah. Jesus likewise charged his disciples to tell the world about his death and resurrection, instructing them to preach the message to all nations. Good theological research has been done showing that the Greek phrase for all nations refers to all ethnic groups, not countries. Therefore, people from every one of the 12,000 ethnic groups in the world must hear the gospel before Jesus returns. Revelation 5:9 also agrees with this, saying that Jesus died for people from every tribe, and language, and people, and nation. In order for the end to come, the gospel must also go to the whole world. Whenever this phrase is used in Greek, it refers to the entire world, not just the Roman world. For example, Revelation 12:9 says that Satan is the deceiver of the whole world. According to Gordon Conwell's Center for Global Christianity, 28% of the world's population has not heard the gospel. Bringing this number all the way down to 0% is related to the Great Commission, where Jesus commands his followers to make disciples of all nations. The Jesus film is one of the most widely used evangelistic tools by missionaries. In December of 2021, the executive director of the Jesus Film Project, Josh Newell, said in a video that it was possible for the Great Commission to be completed in the next 5 to 10 years. By 2025, the Jesus Film intends to give continuous gospel access to the world by providing 1 billion annual views to its materials, primarily through digital means. They do this by running internet advertisements, as well as by running TV broadcasting campaigns in areas with very few Christians. Furthermore, they aim to have the Jesus Film translated into 2,200 languages, which would cover 99% of the world's population. These goals are realistic. Jesus Film materials already received 740 million views in 2020, so 1 billion annual views by 2025 is very achievable. Furthermore, the Jesus Film has already been translated into almost 2,000 languages. Therefore, 2,200 languages by 2025 is very possible. This is no small achievement. In 1900, 54% of the world had never heard the gospel. This decreased to 45% in 1970. By 2000, it had decreased to 30%. 22 years later, it has dropped a mere 2 percentage points, with 28% of the world having yet to hear the good news of Christ's death and resurrection. However, the growth of the internet has proven to be a game changer for world evangelism. About 87% of the world will have the internet in the next 10 years. This is based on the idea that the growth rate of the internet will stay the same it has from 2005 to 2020. Yet some people who don't have the internet already have heard about Jesus. Of the 13% of the population that will not have the internet within the next decade, approximately 72% of them are already evangelized. If we consider that all internet users will have gospel access in the next 10 years, then approximately 96% of the world will be evangelized by the end of 2031. I calculated evangelism and internet penetration forecasts for each country in Excel in order to verify this. The analysis largely agrees with the back of the napkin calculation, saying that about 95% of the world will be evangelized by the end of 2031. However, this doesn't count special missionary activity to groups with no internet, which Jesus Film and its numerous partners intend to do as well. Missionaries have been hard at work, risking and even giving their lives to bring the gospel to the most remote tribes and regions. This is why Josh Newell says the Jesus Film strategy is to bring the gospel to every tribe and every touchscreen. Because of this, it is very possible, perhaps even likely, that approximately 100% of the world will be evangelized within the next 10 years. When Jesus said, "and then the end will come," he was referring to something that is directly subsequent to something else. Other uses of "and then" in Greek bear this out. "On that day many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name?' And then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness.'" We also see the use of this phrase in another passage, where Jesus says, "Can the wedding guests mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast." We can see with these two examples that the Greek phrase for "and then" refers to something that is directly subsequent to something else. Therefore, once the whole world hears the gospel, the end arrives. The use of the internet to accomplish the Great Commission comes as no surprise given other passages of Scripture. The Bible implies some kind of worldwide video communication system in the end times. Revelation 11 talks about 2 witnesses who will prophesy on the earth in the end times. Nevertheless, the Antichrist kills them after their ministry. Afterwards, people from various ethnic groups stare at their dead bodies, but only for 3.5 days. As Revelation 11:9 says, "For 3.5 days some from the peoples, and tribes, and languages, and nations will gaze at their dead bodies and refuse to let them be placed in a tomb." How can people from such a vast array of ethnic groups stare at these dead bodies for only 3.5 days? A global video communication system is needed to make this happen. Furthermore, all the unbelievers on the face of the earth will worship the Antichrist in the end times. As it says in Revelation 13, "And authority was given it over every tribe, and people, and language, and nation, and all who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain." Not only do these unbelievers worship the Antichrist, but they see and worship his talking image as well. Revelation 13 also says, "And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain." If worship of the beast and its image is mandatory for everyone, it makes sense that everyone would have to at least be able to see the talking image of the Antichrist. This implies an interactive, high-speed, global video communication system. This does not necessarily imply that every single person will have an internet-enabled device, but some people in every ethnic group will have access to one. To fulfill these prophecies, this interactive, high-speed, global video communication system must be available in rural areas as well. Even in early 2022, obtaining high-speed internet is still difficult in rural areas throughout the world, even in the United States. Yet this is all set to change in the next few years due to the new space race. Various companies have started deploying internet satellites which will give high-speed internet access to people in rural areas. These companies include Starlink, OneWeb, Telesat, and Amazon's Kuiper project. Furthermore, different countries intend to deploy satellite internet projects in the coming years. The European Union, Russia, and China are all planning projects like this. The most high-profile and advanced project today is Starlink. This is a division of Elon Musk's company, SpaceX. They use reusable rockets to launch internet satellites into orbit. So far, they've launched over 2,000 satellites into space. Furthermore, they hope to launch 42,000 satellites into space in the coming years. Most cell towers have to be connected to the internet using fiber optic cable, or be in the line of sight from another cell tower which is connected to the fiber optic internet. This makes it hard for rural areas throughout the world to have high-speed internet. Laying fiber optic cable is expensive, and it might not make economic sense for cell phone companies to invest all that money into putting a cell tower in a remote area. This is especially true if the people in that country or region don't have a lot of money to make the investment worthwhile. Starlink and related services could change all of that. With Starlink, you can put a cell tower anywhere in the world, and it would be connected to high-speed internet through space. It would not need to have an expensive fiber optic cable connecting it to the internet, nor would it need to be close to another cell tower that is. Even in war-torn areas like Ukraine, Starlink is already being connected to cell towers when the internet would otherwise be unavailable. Furthermore, small cellular base stations, which are basically mini cell towers, are much cheaper to set up than traditional cell towers. This too will enable fast internet to extremely remote regions at a more affordable cost. In 2022, the average internet speed in the world is about 26 times faster than it was in 2012. Therefore, we would expect the internet speed of the next decade to be several times faster than what it is now. This is especially true with the advent of 5G, which is the next generation of mobile technology. 5G is tremendously faster than 4G. In summary, high-speed global internet will help fulfill multiple prophecies. First, it will aid in the proclamation of the gospel to people in every ethnic group. Second, it will enable people from multiple ethnic groups to live stream the corpses of the 2 witnesses in a short time frame. Finally, it will enable the whole world to interact with the talking image of the Antichrist, even in rural areas. Just like Matthew 24:14 says, the end will come once the gospel goes to people in every ethnic group in the whole world. As we have seen earlier, this verse means just what it sounds like. Nevertheless, we cannot know the exact day or hour of Jesus' return. However, Jesus tells us that when certain events take place, we can know that he is just around the corner. From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near, at the very gates. In Matthew 24, Jesus gives numerous signs of his second coming. When talking about his return, Jesus makes many references to prophecies that have already been foretold in the book of Daniel. He even specifically mentions that one important sign of his return, the abomination of desolation, was spoken of by the prophet Daniel. This refers to the most obvious act of evil that the Antichrist commits in the end times. Therefore, if Jesus thinks the book of Daniel is important for understanding the end times, then so should we. The Bible clearly states that the Antichrist will claim to be God and be a violent military conqueror. He eventually achieves world domination and commits genocide against the followers of Jesus. However, he is destroyed at the second coming of Christ. In recent history, many specific Daniel and Revelation prophecies have been fulfilled about the Antichrist's kingdom and his rise to power. Professional theologians have been anticipating these for years. Yet now, these incredible prophecies have finally come to pass. To learn more, watch the next video. Furthermore, I encourage you to donate to the Jesus Film Project or a related ministry. You too can become part of the greatest mission God has ever given humanity. To do this, check out the link in the description. Stay tuned. Come, Lord Jesus.